So I'm going to try to be brief and split my presentation to actually three parts. The first part is just to tell who we are. Probably everyone heard brand Live Riga, which historically was focused on tourism. So already a few years ago now, a new agency have been established, and what we do is basically one area is investment. So our task is to attract investment. That's one area, and the second area is investment environment. To make it even simpler, investment attraction is a sales team, and investment environment is a product team whose task is to make sure that the salespeople have something to sell and Riga is attractive for potential investors. Second part is tourism and also international marketing and communication. Some of our priority sectors which we focus on as a city is global business services, IT, biomedicine, startups, manufacturing, and also movie industry. As you can see, majority of the sectors are connected to service industry, and service industry is obviously based on people. So that's why for us this topic is very important. Of course, I'm going to use the platform to say what have been achieved last year. Last year was actually the first year which I would say we're almost fully operational. And from investment perspective, our first task was to make sure that we have a pipeline of potential projects. Currently, we're in our pipeline of potential investment projects. Their total worth in terms of FDI is more than 1 billion euros, and potential workplaces in Riga 4,000. So what does pipeline mean, and how do we count this? We take only into account the projects, investment projects, which we call a high readiness projects. So basically that means that investor already has done their research, they already visited Riga, and currently they're in the process of choosing between Riga and maximum one or two locations in our region. In terms of tourism, 60% for this year, our target was to reach 60% of our pre-COVID tourist flow. I'm very happy that we actually have achieved it last year, and we're even more optimistic looking on this year. And also we launched multiple new support mechanisms. For the first time, Riga has separate support programs for startups. We have one of our most successful support program, which is focused on business tourism. And I'm very happy that this year we actually managed to get in the budget money to support the creation of Startup House, which I think the topic was in the air for years. Everyone was looking on each other who's going to pay for that. So I'm happy that we have this in the budget right now, and we're working with the industry to make sure that by the end of the year, or early next year, this will actually happen. So getting to the talent topic. So why talent attraction, to my mind, is our only choice. When we speak about human capital as such, there are many parts of that, education, demographic situation, and et cetera, et cetera. And obviously, talent migration is only one of the areas, which is in our conservative political environment is kind of hard topic to speak. So everyone, when the topic starts about talent availability, everyone straight jumps to the topic of migration, not migration, but demographic policies and things like that. But actually, in my mind, while taking long-term actions is of course necessary, but we're past that point where it's enough. First of all, my experience from investors, and investors primarily are looking for talents right now. My experience is that 80% of any conversations that I have with potential investors are focused around talent availability. And this is a major shift compared to, let's say, 10, 15 years ago. I myself come from outsourcing and global business services industry. And 10, 15 years ago, the main value proposition that Latvia had to offer was cheap cost. So basically, the growth of the global business services, IT, everything was driven by the cost, lower cost in the Western Europe. Now, the tasks which we were performing were primarily transactional. Now, that has changed since then. First of all, probably partially because of automation, but currently the cost is not even in top 3 of the questions which investors ask. This actually comes from one of the location advisory consultants. I asked them the question, so when you advise your potential investors and you evaluate different locations where for them to invest, tell me how exactly are you evaluating? What points are you looking at? So they told me basically the 6 groups like taxes, infrastructure, et cetera, but the weights, you can see that almost up to 60% of the ranking of the location is based on human capital. So it's easier to translate in the way that you can have the best Air Baltic in the world, which can fly to 200 locations. You can have 0 taxes in the country. You can have the best things. But if you don't have people who can create competitive products and services that are sold globally, there is no point of doing that. So with this, I really urge to also change the discussion when it comes to investment attractions to just focusing on taxes. Are we putting 1% up or 1% down? I think that's not going to be a deal breaker. Talents will be a deal breaker. And the third, why it's too late just to think about the long-term actions. This picture actually shows that every year, the difference between those who are entering their pension level and the ones who are entering the job market, so basically reaching their 18 years old, the difference between those 2 groups is 11,000 people a year. Of course, not everyone is going to pension straight away when they reach the age, but still it shows the trend. So that means that if you struggle with employees now, imagine 5 years from now we'll have 50,000 less. So, and demographic actions and actions in education, which will give effect in 20, 30, 40 years, we're too late for that. We should have spoken about that in somewhere mid-90s probably. So smart migration is the only way how we can help investors right now. And also one of the arguments which I hear a lot, especially when I speak with national level politicians or ministry employees and so on, is that we need to work smarter rather than we need to import a lot of people. But what I also notice that we don't understand what it actually means, working smarter. It's a nice phrase, but what's behind that? And I'm going to give a very practical example. Last year, we worked with 2 investors. One of them is a rather small company. They just needed 50 employees to hire. They were looking for a new location. They needed employees with artificial intelligence competences. The potential salary would be around 5,000 euros, I would assume. Very high productivity, significant export potential. Basically, they would develop a product here which will be sold globally with potential millions of turnover if that's a success. Now, investor B is a company who would hire 250 employees. But it's mostly like a shared service center, which is still a good investor. They would focus on HR, finance functions, etc. The salary range, okay, around maybe 2,000 euros. But the productivity, the export potential is limited by the cost of employee. So basically, you're not exporting that end product, you're exporting an employee, right? So your export potential is very limited, even though the number of employees is high. Now, investor A, we lost, because they didn't believe that they can find talent here. They didn't believe that we can raise that talent rather quickly, and they didn't believe it's easy to import talent to the country. So we didn't have that competence in the market, and now we don't have it further. So if we would attract that investor, we most probably would be able then to build a case for attracting new investors on top of that and create some kind of ecosystem around that. Investor B, good story still. We're in the short list. They're now choosing between Riga and one other location. So now what does Riga do to address talent attraction? First of all, last week we did our homework. Any major city in Europe or globally have their kind of work-in portal. So this has been launched last week. So this is a platform which will connect potential employees globally and companies in Latvia. I think it's not enough just to make the policy. We actually need to advertise this. We need to market that Riga is a good location to come to. We live in the assumption that there is lines of people standing by the border who dream to come to Latvia, but actually highly skilled employees can choose any location globally, and we need to create value proposition and sell this location to them. So this is why we have this portal now. We're creating a marketing plan, and we have identified around 10 countries where we're going to advertise this further. Now, this is on the marketing side, but the second one is more on the process side. What we want to create in Riga is what we call an international house or one-stop agency for highly skilled talent. This is a picture actually from Vilnius. It's already working there. To make it even simpler and to understand what it would do, imagine now in Riga we have a refugee center that helps Ukrainian refugees, right? So this is a center where a person from Ukraine can come and get all the services in one place, starting with kindergarten, schools, I don't know, registering your dog if you came with your dog, based up to the state level services like migration, documents, and et cetera, et cetera. So Riga has actually gained a lot of experience in that during last year. So we want to take that experience and create a center based on that, which would work with highly skilled talents. Now, for that, we need also the national level. So we're in discussion with the ministries right now. It's quite a big project and ambitious, but and requires a lot of lobbying to be done. But this is more on the process side. Third thing, what we did is also we created and still are creating some of the support mechanisms for supporting the migration of the talent. One program which we worked on is highly skilled talent relocation, which is focused primarily on smaller companies, I would assume startups, who still maybe don't have enough financing, but who need really specific niche talent who they cannot find in the country and who they can bring and import to the country. We're going to help a bit financially with that through this program. For this year in the budget, we also have approved money for highly skilled diaspora representative attraction to Riga. This program is still in, the details is still being formed, but the money is allocated. We also launched a workation program, which is focused on the companies. If you want to invest in Riga and come here with your employees, it's somewhat similar to a regular investment visit, but a bit broader. So basically, we're going to pay for your tickets, for your hotel, and for your co-working space, and you and your team can come to Riga and not only explore Riga, but actually work here and kind of live here for a week. So it's kind of a bit of a different experience. And then the question mark is, what should we do next? So I'll just give, as my last slide, a few of the examples of what other cities do. Basically, I think the competition for talent has reached in a way, a new level. If before cities were fighting in terms of advertising them and just putting soft arguments why you should come to that country or that city, now it's actually they're starting to put money and put money incentives on that. Like Lithuania has, I think it's a Lithuanian program, not Vilnius, but anyway, has just launched last year 2 incentive programs where they pay around 3,000 euros to an employee who is relocating to Lithuania, and also to the company who is relocating them. Of course, this is only for highly qualified, but nevertheless. Helsinki, I think maybe many of you have heard a great program about becoming a 100-day Finn. This program had a lot of global media attention, and I think it drove actually a lot of talent there. And actually Helsinki, Oslo, or Vilnius experience is very interesting for me, because it's probably easier to attract talent if you're in Lisbon, because it's always sunny and palms and everything. But Helsinki is probably not the first place in your mind when you think about relocating somewhere, right? So it's interesting to see also their experience. And Amsterdam previously, I'm actually not sure if they still have it, but they had also a 30% tax discount for highly skilled employees. So you can see that everyone is taking this fight on the next level. They're actually putting money on top of that. So I think that's the next step which we need to make sure that we have. Thank you very much.